Hey everybody, it's me, Shaw360, and I'm in my car right now. I was getting ready to do my review of chapters 19 and 20 of Bright, but I wanted to pop on real quick and talk about BTS World, the game, because BTS World, the game, is pretty much over now. So I don't know if you guys remember, but back in 2019, I did a review of the BTS game after playing it for a week. And if you see me rubbing my nose a lot, just know it's because my allergies. It's allergy season here in Colorado Springs. There's pollen everywhere. My windshield of my car is like yellow green because there's just pollen dripping off of every single surface. So if you see me rubbing my face a lot, it is because my face is on fire right now. But yeah, BTS World is a game that Hybe and Netmarble came out with, and it was a big deal when it started. Hey Sarah, because it was completely promoted as like the flagship game, hello Sarah again, for BTS as a group, and it was supposed to be the first of kind of a universe building game multimedia aspect of the group. And so it was like, not only are we doing the game, but we have a soundtrack to go with the game, and you know it's going to be updated all the time with new content from the boys. And so people were really excited about BTS World, and that excitement was quickly tempered when people actually got into the gameplay. So when I did my review, I remember saying one of the things I disliked the most about the game was that the game was creepy. Yes, Sarah, I'm glad you remember. It had a lot of elements of like, you're supposed to be the manager of the members of BTS, but you're also like stalking them a little bit, and you like give inappropriate responses when they ask you for help with things. Like, it was a very flirty tone, which I really didn't like. And honestly, I should have seen it as kind of a forecast of the way that Hybe would regard fan-directed products moving forward, because there would be times where the game would be like, hey, I'm having a hard time going to sleep. Can you give me an idea of how I can rest? And you'd be like, sing me a song, or let me come and give you a hug, stuff like that. It was weird. It was really weird. And then later on, somehow or another, Hybe ended up owning Wattpad, and they started putting fan fiction on Wattpad about BTS, which you have to pay for, but still gross and disgusting. Hello, Twin. And I don't know, it's just, I think that with BTS World being over, I think it is time that, not myself, because I'm not qualified to do it, but I think in general, we need to have a discussion about Hybe and the marketing of BTS, because I remember different milestones in the marketing of BTS from a consumer standpoint, and which ones were successful, which ones were not, and like how those things, the life of those things has progressed. So let's start with the start. Do you remember the BTS monsters? Do you remember when BTS first came out, they had monsters, these white monsters that wore football jerseys or baseball jerseys, and the jerseys were always black. And I remember very specifically that Rapmon's monster had a duck bill, and those monsters were the BTS merchandise product for, I want to say, at least 2 years. I want to say absolutely through Dark and Wild. That was their monster. If you go on eBay now, then things are mad expensive because Hybe, big hit, dropped it like a hot potato. They're just like, we're not doing this no more. This is amateurish, whatever. Another thing you might remember, if you owned a first press copy of Dark and Wild, is that BTS was supposed to have an anime. If it wasn't an anime, I think it might have been a comic book of some sort, but there was an advertisement for that in Dark and Wild. So these were the early kind of marketing things that Hybe, big hit, experimented with BTS. And like I said, now they're nowhere to be seen. But then I remember that the very next huge merchandise marketing thing for BTS was their line characters. Now, their line characters are still active today. You can still go to Amazon, the line store, and you can still get, you know, your Koyas, you can still get your cookies and shookies. They're all there. But I remember that being massive because at the time, people wanted another character for BTS. They really, really did. And people were sad about the disappearance of the BTS monsters. And so with this collaboration with Line, we were like, yes, finally, can't wait for this. This is amazing. And it also helped that the way that they explained it was that the characters that each person had were drawn by the members. They were directly influenced and inspired by the members. They were going to be having storylines for all of these characters. It was a big deal. And the way they promoted the initial character of V and his kind of alien storyline, it really made you think, yes, they're going to keep going with this. This is going to keep being an important part of the BTS story. Because one of the big things that HYBE did very early on in BTS's career is indicate that there were all these storylines and through lines, and there was a lot about BTS that was more than surface. That, you know, there was all this other undercurrent of fantasy, sci-fi, whatever going along with it. It's not very different than like Exoplanet and some of the other storyline things that different companies have used for their groups. But this was a little bit different in that HYBE always made it seem like there was a mystery component to a lot of the storyline stuff, in that as time would go on, more things would be revealed, and this would be a constant when it came to BTS. Nothing has been a constant. I cannot remember the last time I heard of any member designing anything for the line. I know that they still will sometimes wear the pajamas from the Line store with their characters, but in terms of designing new storylines, in terms of adding new characters, I know that Jin's character had an entire family at one point that was supposed to be an ongoing storyline, and then that shit cut out. It's now just, it's another thing that the Line store can sell. And if you guys recall, when the BTS characters in the Line store first came out, there was a Line store in New York, and I remember my friend Jade very well going to the Line store to buy stuff for me because I couldn't order it online at the time. And there being lines around the block to buy the characters from the Line, BTS line. But yeah, that one, again, no interest being shown in it anymore. Then we have to recall that there is the, what the fuck is, oh, the Tiny Tan, which is the miniature BTS, which they got a really cool commercial, so, you know, good on them. At least they got something different. But that was also supposed to be something we were supposed to all get like super excited for. And the first couple of commercials with Tiny Tan were super well done, super duper cute. Now, I know that they make new Tiny Tan stuff, but I feel like, again, it plays no part in BTS marketing anymore. Because I remember the first Tiny Tans, their commercial was for Mic Drop. And now I can't tell you the last time I saw anybody talk about Tiny Tan. And I think part of the move away from Tiny Tan, the move away from the Line Friends characters, is because HYBE is trying to get the consumer base to become a little bit more elevated with the way that they do merchandising for BTS. Because I think initially they were like, I think a lot of our fan base are teenagers, younger teenagers, so we need to give things that younger teenagers would like. So that's why we're talking about plushies, desk products, cute characters, because we have a young audience. As BTS has become more global, they've decided, well, actually, our group is modeling for Louis Vuitton. They're modeling for different fashion houses who have very expensive goods that don't necessarily co-align with these cartoon characters that we have had as a part of the brand. And so they have decided to elevate the merchandising. And so then that's when, I think it was last year, that we got the very curated fan merchandise that the different members of BTS designed. It was bags and candles and, you know, stuff that we weren't used to seeing. And it was all in like dark colors, very grown-up colors, very sophisticated stuff, things that they felt would justify the outrageous prices for some of this stuff because it was super expensive. But as HYBE has tried to move the needle on the perception of BTS and tried to make them to where, you know, these are men in their late 20s and they're sophisticated and, you know, they're to be taken seriously. The things that they promised fans that would always be available to them in terms of, you know, the characters, the characters, the games, all of that stuff, it got completely neglected. And I think it's something that needs to be talked about by somebody more qualified than me, because there was a time when I thought, and I've talked about this before on my channel, there was a time when I thought that there was a way for old fans to still live with new fans. There was a way for older armies, I'm not an army, but fan for sure, but not an army. There was a way for older armies and newer armies to kind of link up and still be a part of each other's fandom. But at this point, I really do think that Hybe is like, I'm off that shit. I don't want old fans anymore. I don't want you to look for old styles of music. I don't want you to look for old pieces of content. I don't want you to look for BTS access like you've had before. Like, it just... And I get it. They're way too busy now to do V-Lives the way that they used to. They're way too busy now to be on Twitter the way that they used to be as older men, and trying to have personal lives and private lives, dealing with the level of fame they have. We're not going to have as much access. But I really feel like there haven't been enough nods to the people who have been there from early on and who created excitement behind every new product launch. And the reason I think that it's a good time to talk about it now is because with the end of BTS World, it comes right at the heels of BTS releasing a greatest hits album. And what's amazing is that right now Hybe is uploading practices of songs that are several years old. In fact, I think today they uploaded a practice video from the Tomorrow choreography, which I will say this again and again. If you look at the lyrics for Tomorrow and you look at the choreography, it's like, these can't be for the same song. There's no fucking way, because the lyrics for Tomorrow, like, you know, fighting a corrupt society that doesn't emphasize humanity, and doing your best to try to make it to tomorrow, and doing your best to try to be a better person, and doing your best to not let the system crush you. And then, like, the choreography is like body rolls, body rolls, body rolls, body rolls. So it is funny. It is very funny to, like, I don't know. I always thought that was funny. But anyway, the Greatest Hits album is coming out. And the Greatest Hits album track list, somebody said it in the chat, it's a joke. Like, it's 2 or 3 discs, I believe. But it's not a greatest hits album in terms of like fan favorites. It's not the songs that when BTS did the Red Bullet tour, fans would be up in arms for. It is the stuff that I guess maybe if BTS tours again and they want to play older songs and they want an audience reaction, they're like, these are the songs that are going to be in a future set list. You need to start listening to these songs, that way we can perform them. That's what it feels like. But it's just wild to me because this greatest hits album is so disconnected from really what I and a lot of older fans would believe are BTS's greatest hits. And again, everyone has their own opinion about kind of what phase of BTS they like. Everyone does. Like, I personally have my own opinion. I think Greatest Moments in Life was BTS's greatest era. Fight me on that if you want to. I think a close second is probably the first 2 parts of the Love Yourself series. Yeah, but I'm just, I don't know, just like Hybe is trying to reimagine BTS history by saying you don't have to go back and listen to the old albums. You don't have to go back and kind of figure out the history of this group and how the different iterations have existed. Why don't you just, this is the curated history of BTS that we want to present to you, that we believe that you need to be a fully intact fan now. And I don't know, I've been debating on whether or not I'm going to buy it. Like, I have never debated on whether or not I was going to buy a BTS album before. I've always bought BTS's album whenever it came out. I may not have bought every single version. Like, I may not, like, I remember with 7. I think I only have 2 versions of 7. I did not get all 4. And Butter, I believe I only got one in store, and I think I bought the other version used off of Mercari. But this thing, first of all, I own practically all the songs, so it seems a little redundant for me to buy it. But two, my feelings about BTS have changed. And I hung in there after a lot of people I know left. Like Keish, for example. I know Keish still loves BTS. Hey, Meg, nice to see you too. Hive, okay, so Grace writes, Hive might push that narrative, but ARMY will always push to go back to the beginning, at least the Twitter community will. Sounds highly disappointing and will probably be overpriced. Oh, it is. Sarah, let me tell you something. This, oh, sorry. I'm having a hard time navigating the chat. This new collection, it's $65. I think there's two different versions, but I know at least one of the versions of this new album is $65. Before taxes, before shipping, 65 bucks. Yeah. I've never questioned whether or not I was going to buy a BTS album. I've always done it. One, because BTS was the biggest ambassador of K-pop, but two, I genuinely like BTS music in abstract. But BTS now, I just can't. I just can't. The other day, I was listening to, I think it might have been the 88 Rising channel on Sirius, I think so. And the intro to Butter came on. The dun, dun, dun. Before you hear Jimin's voice saying smooth like butter. Is it Jimin's voice or I don't even know. I don't even know, girl. I do not even know. Anyway, before you hear a vocal, the instrumental part came on. And I remember like kind of beating a little bit like, oh, that's kind of snappy. I wonder who this is. In my mind, I thought, I wonder who this is. Because it was not immediately recognizable who that could be to me. That's how far removed I am from Butter. That's how far removed I am from Dynamite. That's how far removed I am from My Universe. That's how far removed I am from the BTS today. And I can't continue, especially in these current economic times, I can't continue to throw good money after bad. And I feel like that's what I'm doing by continuing to want BTS songs, BTS merch, BTS games, BTS fan fiction. I can't continue to throw good money after bad. And it's been bad. And I know people don't want to say it, but it's been bad. And you know what? Not for nothing. Last year, during the Grammys, or the Grammys that just passed, and everybody was so mad because BTS didn't win a Grammy. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't necessarily feel like they've been releasing Grammy-worthy material in the last 2 to 3 years. I really don't. Somebody in the comments just mentioned about the mixing on these songs. The way that they have overly processed the vocals of the vocal line, it's almost impossible to listen to. And if you put a gun to my head and asked me to hum the tune for permission to dance, I couldn't help you. I could not help you. I would tell you, send my love to my mother, but I'm done. I'm done. So, you know, if BTS comes out with something amazing, something that artistically speaks to their souls, that I can feel the passion in it, I'll probably listen. And, you know, who knows? I may consider buying this greatest hits just because I'm a collector and that's what us collecting bitches do. But I think this is going to be the first time in my K-pop life that I have ever dropped a bias group. And I don't think I ever said out loud that BTS was a bias group for me, because I'm not one of those people who normally like, these are my bias groups. Like I've always said, SHINee is the group for me. That's the reason why I have the tattoo. SHINee is that group for me. Like when it comes to my be all and end all, Shawol for life, put it on my fucking grave, Shawol for life. But in terms of like groups that I would consider my bias groups, I don't talk very often about who my bias groups are. I think all of you know my favorite girl group of all time in K-pop is Sistar. You guys know that my current favorite girl group in K-pop is Red Velvet. And you guys know that I have loved BTS. But yeah, I've been fortunate that even with Big Bang, when I was angry at Sungri, like legitimately angry with Sungri, I still liked Big Bang. I haven't dropped Big Bang. I still think their music is good. I'm still gonna buy new music from Big Bang when it comes out. Yes, I am. But BTS was a bias group, and I think I've said many times that they came probably second to Shiny. I think they were tied with In Black for me, and I'm out. The BTS world for me is over. Yeah, yeah. It's over, and I wish them the best of luck. I really, really do, because I've had some great times on this channel with BTS. I've had some amazing times with BTS on this channel. I've gone to their concert before. I went to the Fort Worth show where freaking Namjoon gets out there and says, "I hope it was Fort Worth it." Dumb. I have bonded with so many people. I've had rants that went well. I've had rants that didn't go well. I think the first unboxing I did of the 7 album is one of my funniest videos of all time. It is me and Stevie. Please check it out on my channel if you've never seen it before. But I did like an on the spot first time opening review of the 7 album with my daughter, and hijinks. I don't think that I've laughed so hard rewatching a video ever in my life. But yeah, I just don't think BTS is for me anymore. And I'm sorry that we're at that place. But that doesn't mean I'm going to be a hater all of a sudden. Like, don't get it twisted. I'm not going to spend my time actively campaigning against BTS or HYBE. If it's private, then I will unprivate it. I will find it and I will unprivate it for you. I'll do it right after this live is done. Be looking out. Give me about 5 minutes, and after this live is done, you will see that video available on my feed. But yeah, I'm not going to hate BTS. I'm not going to actively wish for their downfall. I mean, if I've loved you and you haven't done anything wrong, I'm not going to stop loving you. We might not be close friends anymore, but I'm always going to wish well for you. And you know what? Honestly, my major hope in this phase of everything is that I hope in 2022 / beginning of 2023, hopefully before the end of 2022, honestly before October, I hope BTS releases a beautiful, amazing song with as little processing as possible to their voices. And yes, that is the review. That is the review. You're right, Sarah. I hope that they release a song where their voices sound amazing, where the mix is on point, where the song is emotional and it's well written and it has great replayability. And I hope that they get a Grammy nomination for that song, and I hope they fucking win. I really, really do. I know it sounds crazy, but I really, really hope that one day BTS writes their magnum opus and they release it, and it sounds gorgeous, and it's something that old fans and new fans alike can agree, this is the shit we've been talking about, and that they win a Grammy for it. I want that for them. I really, really do. But I'm going to be looking from the sidelines. I'm going to be looking from the sidelines because I'm not feeling it. No, they've never won a Grammy before. They've been nominated several times. I think the last 2 Grammys, they've been nominated. I think they got nominated for... Did they get nominated for My Universe, or did they get nominated for Dynamite? I feel like they got nominated for My Universe. Because I think they got nominated for Best Duo. Which, I mean, can we all agree that that song never needs to win any awards? Gosh, fucking Coldplay. I'm sorry. I know sometimes our intersections don't always intersect, but let me just say something real quick. The last song I liked by Coldplay in my entire life is Viva La Vida, I think is what it is. Coldplay could have ended right there. Coldplay could have ended right there, because there just hasn't been anything good coming from Coldplay in a really long time. Before I go, though, let me tell you about some music I'm listening to, some music I'm hoping to listen to soon. I have been listening to Yeah. I'm just saying, it's true. Like, I I have I am not shy about my opinions on my YouTube because I'm too grown to be shy. I am 42 years old. I will be 43 very, very soon. The days of me being scared that people won't like me because of the things that I say or believe are long past. It's never my intention to hurt anybody. I never want to come across as callous and uncaring to people who have done absolutely nothing to anybody. However, the days of me wanting to say things in order to have YouTube clout, first of all, I don't think they ever really truly existed, but they are far, far behind me now. I can tell you that, boy. If you ask me my opinion on something and I actually have an opinion on it, you're gonna get it, because I can't live my life on that. And I think that's the other thing about being a fan of BTS that I'm still not over as well. And another reason why it's easier to walk away at this point. Uh it's been crazy watching the evolution of a fandom. Like, watching the evolution of the ARMY fandom, to me, as somebody with a front row seat from virtually the beginning, has been insane. I remember the first time I ever heard BTS's name, and I remember it as if it was yesterday because it was so important to me and I can't ever forget it. So if you guys don't know this, back in the day, I used to write fan fiction on asianfanfics.com. In fact, if you type in the name Shawwall360 on asianfanfics.com, you will find several of the stories of smut that I wrote. I wasn't horrible most of the time. There were a couple of stories that were super wild, but for the most part, I was a decent storyteller. I'm very proud of my Little Mermaid story. That one and the one about falling at the fair. Those are my two kind of proudest moments, I would say. But anyway, back when I used to write for asianfanfics.com, I remember I used to do these like miniature blogs where I'd be like, I want to talk about this thing, or I want to talk about that thing. And I had somebody in the comments section on one of those blogs say, hey, you like Shiny and you like R&B, rap, hip hop. I think you would really dig this new group that came out called Bulletproof Boys. And I remember the person in the comments said Bulletproof Boys specifically. Not even BTS. They said Bulletproof Boys. And I remember that because I remember thinking, what the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? And so I checked them out, I think, at the time, and I was like, this doesn't look like anything I'd be interested in, because you have to remember, this was at the time when Rotman was still getting his hair permed. It wasn't doing it for me. But then, later on, I saw the comment again, but this time I saw it with BTS. And I'm like, you know what? I've had somebody comment this at least twice. I'm going to go ahead and check them out. So the first music video I ever saw for BTS was the music video for No, N-O. Everybody say no. That was the first BTS video I ever saw. And the first BTS album I ever bought was the Oh, Are You Late Too? I have an unboxing here on the channel. My opinions about BTS were wild back then. I highly suggest you watch it. It is not on private. I know that for a fact because I get comments on that video still to this day, which is crazy. Like, I want to say 5 months ago, somebody commented on that video. But anyway, I remember really liking the music. I remember thinking the appearance was wild. I think I commented about Ratman's permed hair in that video, but I remember really liking the music. Then I remember pre-ordering Dark and Wild, and I remember commenting on my channel that I didn't get my copy of Dark and Wild as quickly as I was supposed to, because I ordered Dark and Wild at the same time I ordered the new In Black album, and they had ran out of copies of the In Black album, I guess, so they wouldn't ship my order until their new shipment of In Black albums came in. And it was the album that had Be a Man on it. And so, yeah, I remember that very well. And then after that, I was just like, I'm in it. I remember loving Dark and Wild and just being like, I am fucking in it. And because I liked BTS so much at that time, Dark and Wild was my first BTS album that I got in pre-release My next BTS album that I got in pre-release was Greatest Moments in Life Part 1. And I bought my copy from Mnet. Back when they used to sell signed CDs, I have a Rapmon signed version of Greatest Moments in Life Part 1. I sure do. I've had it on my channel before. But I have Rapmon signature on Greatest Moments in Life Part 1 because I didn't win the group one. I got the single signature, and I remember being chuffed that I got Rapmon signature because he's been my bias for a really long time in that group. And yeah, I got his signature. So, I mean, it's been a lot. It has been a lot of appreciation over the years. But, you know, all good things have to end at some point. Whether they end on your side or somebody else's side, all good things have to end. But yeah, I wish the boys the best. It's been a time. It's been a time. It's been a time. Favorite moments musically with BTS? I think Tomorrow is stunning. I'll always think Tomorrow is stunning. Run, to this day, is still one of my favorite BTS songs. There's something about the way that song sounds. It literally sounds like running, which I don't know. I just think it's a brilliant musical motif weaved in with a narrative. I think that video is one of the best videos they've ever made. I still think that Greatest Moments in Life is probably their best collections of songs, and I think the repackaged Young Forever has some of the best additions to an album that I've ever heard. I think people don't talk enough about Forever Young and what a great song that is. Forever we are young. That's such a good song. Fire. What a fucking amazing song. I think BTS's best video, bar none, absolutely, if we're not talking about narratives, is the Dope video. I think that video, they have yet to top it. And it's not even based on narrative. I think it's just like the dancing and the camera work and everything for that video just rocks it. I think Love Yourself was highly underrated for the second part. I know a lot of people like Fake Love as a song, but there is that segment with like Pluto and a couple of other songs right there. It's like a 3-song set that's really, really good. I feel like Dimple doesn't get enough love, and it really, really should. And I don't think that the B album was a good choice at all. I think that the B album should have stayed in the drafts. I understand it was COVID and people needed to get product on the shelf, and that's the reason why we had to have the $65 version come out before the $25 version. But I don't think that anything about the B rollout was good. Thank you, Jay, you got it. What am I to you? Oh my gosh, Stephanie, let me tell you something. I remember that being the teaser for Dark and Wild and losing my fucking mind. I remember exactly what it looks like. The teaser was like, it had the little school bell, da, 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 and then the violin comes in, and it's like, it's really colorful, and it's like a garden or whatever, and the camera keeps zooming in, and then all of a sudden the garden dies, and shit is on fire, and everything is dead, and by the end of the song, he's like, I do love you crazy, all for you. That was the moment I knew that me and Rapmon were meant to be in each other's life. Oh, I didn't even mention this. I'm gonna mention this now because I really think that y'all need to know something about this. I went to Marfa, and I only mentioned that in relation to Namjoon is because when they had their break, Namjoon went to Marfa. I went to Marfa too. He is a very privileged individual because the Chinati Foundation, where he took his pictures in Marfa, has been closed to the public for months. They opened that place specifically for him to be able to walk around because a bitch like me sure couldn't do it. But I sure did go to Marfa. I went to the Marfa Prada. Went to Marfa Prada. I went to a shack that had the word Prada spray painted on it. Same effect. And I went to the Hotel Paisano in Marfa. So yeah, me and Namjoon traveling the artistic world together. Him with more access than myself. But yeah, I thought I'd mention that. Some of y'all were talking about songs as well too. I love a lot of the music. Coffee, coffee is so good. Coffee is so good. And then Waylon, lonely well. What a great song. Wait is Marfa. Marfa, M-A-R-F like Frank, Marfa. It is a town in Texas. It's about 2.5 miles away from El Paso, Texas, and they're known as kind of an art colony. There is a Prada Marfa, which is like a Prada store that's always closed, and they've got like 6 purses and several shoes on the wall. And yeah, it's just in the middle of nowhere. And then the little town of Marfa is like painted with all these beautiful kind of hand stuccoed adobe little homes. And there is this place called the Chinati Foundation. The artist who started the Chinati Foundation, he was like abstract sculpturist and modern sculpturist, and he kind of put his workshop and a lot of his art is down there, and he has like some of his last pieces of his life are in these huge barns. And before COVID, anyone could go to the Chinati Foundation, go inside and look at the art. Now it's been completely locked up since COVID. Pretty much nobody can go in there. There are some pieces that are outside that you can see, but the best pieces are indoors and you don't have access to them. Granted, they are basically concrete stairs. So if you go on YouTube and you look up Marfa art, PBS has a video, and it's John Green's wife who is the narrator host of the video, but she does a walkthrough of all the art in Marfa. I highly recommend that video if you want to get an idea of why it is that Marfa is considered one of the hidden art capitals of the United States. But anyway, Mason asked me non-K-pop music I'm listening to. I am. I was going to talk about that earlier, but then I got sidetracked. The new Kendrick Lamar album. So, for those of you who don't know what's going on in my life, let me tell you something. I have had some recent personal life developments that have not been my favorite thing in the world to have happen, and I decided I needed to take some time off work, so I decided to take a solid month off work. And I've been traveling, so if you've been watching my Bright book reviews, I've been telling you guys I've been traveling, and it just so happened I was on my way back to Colorado from New Mexico, and the new Kendrick Lamar album, it's a double album called Mr. Morale and the High Steppers, was a new release, so I decided to listen to it, and my God, what an album. There are some very controversial things on that album, besides the inclusion of Kodak Black on the album, which was, I'm still not sure why. I mean, Kodak Black has some really good verses on that album, but his presence in an album that's about healing from trauma, basura. But there are 2 songs on there that, 3 songs, I would say, that everyone has been talking about a lot if you are somebody who listens to rap critique. Oh, Kodak Black sexually assaulted an underage girl, and he only apologized because it was an effort to get him reduced sentencing. And so that's the reason why it's fuck Kodak Black all day long. We cry together, Stephanie. The song is called We Cry Together on Kendrick Lamar's new album. I need to let you guys know before you listen to the song, it is a song in terms of it has a length of about 2.5 minutes, and it rhymes, but it's not a song. It is listening to an argument between 2 people who are very much in love with each other, 2 intelligent people who live hypocrite lives. I'm saying hypocritical lives. That's what I want to say. Like, they're both woke, but they both know that each of them lives with someone who is not enlightened for all their enlightenment, and because of that, they have a bad relationship. So it's Kendrick Lamar and then the actors from the Zola movie, who played Zola. The argument starts out with like, fuck you, no, fuck you, fuck you, no, fuck you. That's how the song starts. And then she starts talking about like all the things that are wrong with the relationship. He's cheating on her. She changed her life to be with him. She should have known better because he's just as bad as all these other men out there. And there's the system of misogyny that's perpetrated against Black women. And because of that, that's the reason why we can't ever achieve full happiness. And then he counters with the fact that like, you can't blame me for the fact that your life isn't working out because you're the same one who shakes your ass to booty songs and you still listen to R. Kelly. And also women are really shitty towards each other, so men aren't the only shitty people on the planet. And so they're arguing back and forth, and then by the end of the song they're like, you know what, let's just ignore every bad thing we've said to each other and let's have sex. And I know this description doesn't sound appealing, But for me, as a person who's been in a black relationship with a black man, my former husband, I can tell you the argument felt very real to me, and it very much felt like somebody had installed cameras into my living room 10 years ago. So, more than 10 years actually, close to 15. So yeah, I find that song to be very cathartic for me. Then there's another song on the album that a lot of people have problems with called Auntie Diaries. And I'm going to tell you the main problems right now. The main problems are the repeated use of the F slur and the dead naming of a trans woman. So the song is about Kendrick Lamar talking about his trans uncle. So he has an uncle, or formerly an aunt, who he's known all his life as an uncle, who he never had any problems with because, according to his mind, you can only be gay if you're a man who loves other men. Whereas if you are a female to male who is involved in relationships with women, you're not gay because you're a man and you're with women. But he had a cousin who transitioned from male to female, and the church basically blamed all of the society's ills on this cousin, and he wasn't very kind to this cousin, and he spends the entire song dead naming and using wrong gender pronouns for this cousin. And he ends the song with the idea that he didn't realize that saying words that were hurtful to his trans cousin were hurtful, because he justified it by saying it's just words, don't take it personally. But then when he had a concert and a white girl got on the stage, it said the N-word, he was very offended and it wasn't cool for him. And so he's like, I can't say the F word unless I allow you to say the N-word. So it's a rough song. I can't say it any other way. It is a rough song. But I enjoyed listening to it only because a lot of times when we're talking about marginalized communities, especially if you are a member of a marginalized community, you tend to look at the adversity that you face from your own perspective. Like, I look at women's rights from the perspective of a woman. I look at trans rights from the perspective of a non-trans person. I look at gay rights from the perspective of a non-gay person, from an ally's perspective. And this is a perspective that I don't have because I'm not a black man dealing with the way I interact with trans people. I'm a black woman. And because of that, the issue of the intersection of my masculinity and my blackness, I don't have that. My intersection is a female intersection. And so it was interesting to hear the perspective of a black man and him coming to terms with his transphobia and how he has dealt with his transphobia and what he believes is the answer to that. Even though, again, the dead naming and the use of the F slur are still very, very awkward. I'm not pleased with that. And then the last song from the album that I really, really enjoyed listening to, because it was just so kind of like, you could tell that Kendrick Lamar has been through a lot of therapy, and part of his therapy is kind of letting go of things that he knows that he hasn't dealt with well in the past, and just confronting them head on and being like, this is the situation right here. And it's a song called Mother I Sober. And basically he talks about childhood sexual trauma. He talks about his sex addiction and how it has practically ripped his family apart, and he almost lost his wife behind it. I mean, it's a lot. It is a lot. And so I don't encourage you to go into this album just as a casual listen, because it's not a casual listen. It is a very dense album. Lyrically, it is very, very dense. But in terms of like what you get out of it, if you are somebody who is interested in the perspective of a black man in this world, then I think that you should check it out. An album I listened to that I hated was the Jack Harlow album, if you want to know. I listened to the Jack Harlow album before I listened to the Kendrick album, because Jack Harlow is the latest white boy on the scene, and because of that, he's been getting a pass. And also, I liked his verse on Industry Baby, but that that Jack Harlow album is basura. It's absolute garbage. His raps are not good. And I don't know much about Jack Harlow. I liked What's Poppin', okay. I liked his verse on Industry Baby. The song he did with the City Girls, I really wasn't looking for it. And I really didn't pay attention to the work he did with Kanye at all. But his album is bad. It's just bad. And I don't know why it's bad. Like, I'm really trying to understand, because on a purely like music production level, like the backing tracks of Jack Harlow's album are really good. Give those backing tracks to a more capable rapper, you've got a hit on your hand. But if you listen to him rapping on these songs, his delivery is whack. His flow is tired. His lyrics are not creative at all. There's nothing new. And then he has a song with him and Drake together on it, and that song it's maddening. It's maddening because you can tell that Jack Harlow's entire MO is based on the Drake of like 2016, 2017. Both he and G-Eazy were like, we are going to be the white Drakes. And it's not working, boss. It's not working, friend. It's bad. It's bad. And also, like, the subject matter of the entire album is that Jack Harlow wants love and wants to be affectionate and would love to be your best guy in your life, but he also needs you to understand that he is a crap boyfriend and he needs to be allowed to fuck whatever he wants right now. So yes, he does want to be in a committed relationship with you, but he also wants to be in a committed sexual relationship with very, very many other women that he wants no emotional commitment to at all. And so it is just like, goddamn. Okay. Harry's House. Glad you asked. I listened to Harry's House. Harry's House is an indie record, even though he's not an indie artist, but absolutely the vibe all day long is Arcade Fire. Very much, it's his indie record. It is between the two Harry albums. So like his first album was very kind of like British rock influenced, right? His second album was definitely a more worldly look at pop music, the spectrum of pop music. Harry's House is in between, but it's so in between that he might as well have not released it. Like, I listened to the album and I'm like, I cannot tell you what the follow-up title track is going to be. I mean, it might end up being Matilda maybe, even though Matilda is really slow. I think it might be Matilda only because the lyrical content of Matilda is really good, but in terms of like the music itself, I feel like there were definitely very strong singles on the last project that Harry did. This project, I'm just not seeing the singles. I'm not seeing the singles, folks. So I could be wrong though. K-pop albums I'm listening to, I don't know. I haven't been listening to many K-pop albums, to be honest with you, because I've been trying to listen to more pop stuff, more Western stuff, so I don't really even know kind of what's on the scene in terms of K-pop. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just really kind of in my bag with like Western music right now and my podcast game. I'm really into podcasts. I'm listening to a lot of podcasts right now. So that's kind of where I'm at in terms of like what I'm listening to. But, you know, eventually I'll return to K-pop. I'm sure it'll happen. What do you think of Queendom? I quit watching Queendom after a while. In my opinion, it's been a good K-pop year with some really solid singles. There's been some good music out there for K-pop. I'm not saying K-pop's bad. It just hasn't really been for me. R&B, K-pop. Yeah, I'm waiting for Zico's new stuff to come out. He's at the military now, so what's happening? Where are we going with that? Queendom, I only wanted to watch Queendom for Hyolyn, and I felt like I was waiting a long time in between her performances, so I just really didn't care for Queendom at all. I didn't care about any of the other groups, and I know a lot of people really cared for Luna. Like, they really were like, I need to watch it for Luna, or they're like, I really need to watch it for Vivis, or I really need to watch it even for Kepler. But I don't really believe that there was anything for Queendom for me besides Hyolyn. So I haven't been watching. Kang Daniel did release a new song and album. I need to listen to them because I like most things that Kang Daniel does. I think he has immaculate taste. So I really do need to check out what he's doing. But yeah, K-pop, I just haven't, I don't know. I need to be better about it because K-pop really and truly is my first love. But I don't know. K-pop was really weird in the last couple of years because I feel like K-pop kind of got stuck on certain themes and styles of music, and it got to where there wasn't anything that felt particularly special about a lot of the music I was listening to, and so I just was able to kind of back away from a lot of it. And I don't know if K-pop is back to diversification the way it was. Like, there's a reason why groups like Twice, Red Velvet, Blackpink are so popular, and it's because their voices really stand out. Like, when you hear their songs, you're like, oh, this must be that group because their voices sound a certain way. And I feel like it's been a long time since I've heard a unique voice in K-pop. Oh, also, hot take, TXT's latest release was not that good. Their mini album, I don't know what happened because they had been on a roll. I had really been loving a lot of TXT's releases recently. Thursday's Child was not it. And I'm really upset about that too because I bought it. I sure did buy it because, like I said, TXT has been very reliable as of late. But I don't think that this last mini was very good. Yeah. And I don't know if it's just because I don't like a dark TXT, maybe because like the colors for this last release were like brown, black, and red. But I don't know. I know, I've been loving them. Oh, I decided also that me and Stacy are friends. Me and Stacy are friends. I did buy their Young Love CD. I did buy that. Yeah, I'm decided that I like Stacy. Like I said, I have been listening to some K-pop, not a lot, but I've been listening to some, and Stacy is good. Yeah. So I bought Young Love. I don't think I'm going to go back and buy any of their older stuff, but I liked the majority of what I heard on Young Love, so that's the reason why I buy it. I know. I think that the thing that was bad with me and Stacy is I think there was a marketing issue with Stacy, and that's why I couldn't really get into it, because just looking at them, I'm like, this doesn't look like this is for me. But the songs are actually good. I really wish I could be in the room with the people who are managing Stacy, because I do have an idea of how to market them. I really, really do. I don't like. I'm sorry. I listened to IVE's 2 songs and I'm like, this is K-pop. This is K-pop, but I'm not going to be following them anytime soon. So this is my idea about how to market Stacy, because I think that they haven't been marketed well. I think instead of marketing Stacy the way we do every other girl group, where we're always changing their look all the time and making it to where you can barely know who's who, because I still don't know who anybody is in Stacy, I think I would market Stacy in a completely different way. I think that I would give them not necessarily regular looks, but I would make it to where each girl kind of has a distinct look that carries from marketing, from album to album, comeback to comeback. That way people can really build kind of a relationship with the way that girl looks. I would try several looks on them kind of at the warehouse or wherever they keep the idols when they're not on stage. I would try several looks on them to see what is their best beauty look. And then I would stick with whatever their best beauty look is. And then instead of making it to where every comeback is about them, having a whole new everything, it'd be more about getting to know the girls for real. Yeah, I like them. I think I would get it to where it's more about like maybe capitalizing on their individual interest or some like unique talent. I would start building storyline videos for them, but I wouldn't build storyline videos around a guy. I would build a storyline video around some aspect of just being in Korea. So like, I think if I was going to build a storyline, I would like have them in a college course and maybe dealing with like a bully at the course, not somebody who's like pushing them, like not that kind of hands-on bully, but like a bully in terms of like intimidation and somebody who makes you feel smaller than yourself, and kind of going back to your friend group and kind of finding a way to work through that. and just have them address issues that women in Korea face, but do it in a way where like you don't have the men jumping down your back, because I know that can kill a career if you're a girl group, but just make it to where like they seem relatable, because I think that's something that we are missing a bit from K-pop is just idols who have a strong voice. Like, we're never going to get another Brown Eyed Girls. That part of K-pop is absolutely gone. You're never going to see it again. You're never going to get that again as long as K-pop is what it is. You're not going to ever get another Sunny Hill. That's just not going to happen. However, I think you could do kind of a lighter version of that if you just maybe give girls a chance to kind of have more storylines and more like trying to deal with things. Maybe somebody is failing a class and trying to find a way to pass this class, you know, or trying to balance work and school, something like that. Yeah, Brown Eyed Girls. They have, there is a Brown Eyed Girls album. I think it's called, is it called Black Box or Brown Box? It might be called Brown Box, but it's a greatest hits album for Brown Eyed Girls. But it's right before their last release. It's immaculate. I highly recommend everybody getting that album. It's so, so good. I'm really glad I bought it when I did, because there's not a lot of copies out there left anymore. But anyway, yeah, I like Stacey, but I want to see a more relatable girl group, and I want to see a girl group marketed, Black Box. Thank you, Mason. But I want to see a girl group marketed towards the girl who's no longer in high school. Okay, so Maria asked me about Etsy. Ilana asked me about Etsy. No opinion. I don't listen to them. But Maria asked me about aespa. Thoughts on aespa? I'm not a fan. More so mad about the choices SM is making with them. Like, why are they giving them bad hyper pop music, and why are they making a group of girls who sing rap? My opinion on aespa is that aespa is not meant for me to understand them. I'm meant to enjoy small bits of aespa as they come along, but in terms of them being the target for aespa, that's not me. But I think if you're under the age of 30, something that you need to know is that hyperpop is the new wave of pop. Absolutely. And so if you have a problem with aespa doing hyperpop, you don't listen to young music, because like Charlie XCX and a lot of the other girls on Rina Sawayama, a lot of the girls are doing hyperpop. It is a thing. It is a thing. It's Britney Spears on steroids. And if you're not down for it, then you just need to move along, because they're not going to be doing Red Velvet. There's already a Red Velvet. They're not going to be doing that. They're going to be doing an electric girl living in a computer world. And so that's the reason why I don't think necessarily that I'm their target audience, and I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that at all, because everyone has their time. I learn that more and more every year, is that as I fall out of things, it's not because those things are bad, it's just because those things are not meant for me. But yeah, in terms of what they're doing, it could be worse. I mean, honestly, if you compare the hyperpop of aespa to the hyperpop of JYP's new group, then I think that aespa's got it okay, because JYP's new group, fuck out of here. I don't even remember their name, and probably because I'm just so mad. Probably because I'm just so fucking mad. I'm never going to get over that. I'm never going to get over the money I wasted buying that blind box. I'm never going to get over it. I'm never going to get over it. I like Ning Ning too. She's my favorite. In Mix. Oh, yeah. If I had to choose between InMix and aespa, I'm going to choose aespa all day long. I wish that aespa was more like the project group with aespa and the members of Girls' Generation, Red Velvet, and BoA. I can't even remember what the little project group is called. But anyway, I like that song a lot. But I just, That's right, Nayan is getting a solo, and Mason said that the stereotypes are writing for her. So that's really exciting, because I really like the stereotypes a lot. Everything that they've done for SM has been immaculate, and so I can't wait to see what they do for Nayan. I think it's going to be wonderful. I think it's going to be absolutely wonderful. I love the stereotypes. They are one of my favorite groups ever. Girls on Top, thank you. I was about to call them Game of Thrones, and that would have been wrong. So yeah, Girls on Top. I liked Girls on Top as a project group. I thought it was cute. Dice. I listened to Dice. I liked Dice a lot. I did not know that was what Ona was going to come up with. And even though it wasn't as R&B as I want it to be, it was still really good. I'm so curious about what the In-Mix members in the future will say about their debut. I don't even like Tank. I told myself that Tank would have been a better title track for them than whatever that shit was that they decided to do. However, I don't even think Tank would have been a good title track. Let's just be honest. I don't think so. I'm excited about SNSD coming back too, especially because I've been reading this right here. And yeah, I've read 20 chapters so far. And I feel like if you listen to my reviews of Jessica's book, you're going to believe that I've always had a secret vendetta against Girls' Generation, because I'm not nice to Jessica at all. I'm really not. And I shouldn't be this way, but like, you can't sell a book like this and think that people aren't going to look at this as being your story when you spent more than a year hyping it up like this is your story, but the names are changed to protect the innocent and not violate NDAs. You know, like you can't market it like this and then turn around and tell us, oh, well, it's all fiction. It's all this. This is not me. This is not who I am as a person. Bitch, this is you. This is you. Even if you got a ghostwriter to write this shit for you, this is you. I'm going to believe this is you. And I'm going to talk about it like this is you. And that's what I've been doing. Every single review, I've been talking about it like we're talking about Jessica. Because this is her. You know, it'd be one thing if Jessica wrote a book about riding dragons in the medieval times. Then I would never think the book was about Jessica, because the character bears no resemblance to Jessica in real life or otherwise. But that's not what this book is. This book is about a Korean American girl who gets into the K-pop sphere in a group of 9 girls for a 2-letter entertainment company with a guy whose name is Alex John, and you're dating Tyler Kwan, some stupid shit like that. Come on now, bitch. You know, not for nothing. I mean, I was born at night, but not last night. Of course, I'm going to think this shit's about you. I'm going to think this is about you. So yeah, fuck Jessica. For real. Eat a dick. And I shouldn't be like that because, again, she's never done anything personally to me, but I just think that, like, her fans are really getting stiffed by her. They really are. They really are. She doesn't give a fuck about her fans because she didn't even hire a good ghostwriter. And just to show that Jessica is totally not writing this, there is, I think it's for, is it for Elle? I think it's Elle. Here on YouTube, there is a video where Jessica tells the interviewer about her 5 favorite books. Please, for the love of God, watch that video. It came out around the same time that Shine came out. She lists her 5 favorite books, and it is very obvious in that interview, not only that Jessica doesn't really read, like, at all, but that she doesn't even really know the plot of at least 2 of her 5 favorite books. Bitch, what? What? It's not like they sprung it on her. Like, they made sure that they had copies of the books ready for her. But yeah, they ask her 5 favorite books, and she don't even know the books. Like, she freely admits that one of the books she never even finished reading. She never even finished reading. How's a book your favorite book and you never finished reading it? Bitch, do you read? Do you read? Do you read? Come on now. Like, I couldn't tell you my 5 favorite books off the bat, but if I had to come up with some book recommendations, I would at least recommend you a book I fucking read. I wouldn't be like, I really like this book. I haven't finished it yet, but I believe it's my favorite. Come on! And the Alex character in this book, either Jessica is a massive gold digger who got played to the nth degree, or Jessica is dumb as all get out. And I can't imagine her being that fucking dumb. I can't imagine it. I can't imagine it. Oh, man. Oh, don't get me started on that bitch. Don't get me started. Don't get me started. And now that I've said I need to recommend books to you, I'm going to recommend a book. If you like a book that is set in kind of modern times in Europe and you don't mind horror, I highly and truly recommend Let the Right One In. It is a book that I think is written somewhere in that Arctic circle, like Norway, Sweden, Finland, all that stuff. It is a book about a young boy who is being bullied at school because he's just pathetic. And I shouldn't say that about a young boy, but this is a fictional child, so I'm allowed to say this. But he's like, I want to say maybe 12 or 13 years old. He's overweight. His parents are divorced. His dad is a drunk. His mom is just super busy. He still pees on himself a little bit. So he wears like this cone of shame around his genitals so that he doesn't wet his pants at school. Like he's just pathetic. But anyway, he spends a lot of time by himself. And one day he's at the park outside of his apartment complex. And there is another child at the park, a little girl. So he is like, hey, you're out here late at night. I'm out here late at night. We both seem like we have pretty negligent parents. Let's just be friends. And so he never sees the girl at school, but he sees the girl at the park all the time. And the girl she looks like she wears the same clothes all the time. Her hair is kind of like matted. Like she looks like she's not being cared for. And then he discovers through a series of events that this little girl is living with an older man, a very older man, like a man probably in his 50s maybe. And that shortly after this girl and this man move into the neighborhood, people start dying around them. And it's not something the little boy is necessarily scared about, but he is kind of like worried about his friend being out at night, because even though he's late out there, like at sometimes 10 o'clock at night, sometimes this little girl is outside at like 1 in the morning. So he's just like, there is a killer around here, and I really hope that you're going to be okay, because I would hate to have something happen to you, because you literally are my only friend. And I don't want to give away too much of a spoiler, but I mean, honestly, you're going to find this out pretty soon in the book. So just letting you know ahead of time, it turns out the little girl is a vampire. So he didn't need to be worried about her being out there late at night. Yes, it is the plot of Let the Right One In and Let Me In are literally the same story. Let the Right One In is the novel, and then the movies were adapted from that. But yeah, it's a great book, and there's stuff in the book that isn't in the movie that is chilling. Like when I read it, I was like, oh my God. There's trigger warning. There's talk of sexual assault. There's big sexual torture and trauma scenes in this book. There is child abuse, pedophilia, rape. Like it's a lot. It is a lot. It is all the grossest things in the world. But part of what I like about the book better than the movie is that in the book there is a whole other cast of characters that have no like big part of the movie. Like the main character is the little boy and the little girl, but there's this other like friend group that's in the same town, and we get to like be a part of their friend group. And then as their friend group starts to be attacked by this monster in the city, we're kind of like emotionally invested in seeing like, will they survive? And if they survive, how? So, and also the revenge at the end of the book is way better than the revenge at the end of the movie. The revenge at the end of the book is cold. But yeah, I've always loved vampires. Vampire literature outside of like Twilight and stuff, my favorite genre. Interview with a Vampire, the book is good. The movie's really good, so I like that. And also Anne Rice, one of my favorite Anne Rice books of all time is Cry to Heaven. Again, big trigger warnings on Cry to Heaven. It's never been adapted to the screen because I don't know that you can. To be honest with you, Cry to Heaven has got so many heavy themes in it that I just don't know if anyone can ever adapt it to the screen. But it's an Anne Rice book, and I know Anne Rice is famous for her vampire movies, or her vampire books, but this is not a vampire book. This is a book based on a very arcane practice that used to happen in Italy that no longer happens anymore, thank God. But it's a story of a young man. He's basically a teenager, and his dad is like a wealthy senator in the state that he lives in Italy. And at night, he likes to go out with his friends and drink and sing, and he has a beautiful opera voice. And his dad is super old and his mom is really young. So his mom is like in her 20s and his dad is like in his 60s. But he's his dad's favorite. And so he lives a pretty good life. Then one day his father gets really sick and dies. And that's when this boy's older brother comes into town. And so he's like, oh, I'm so glad to meet you, older brother. Dad never talked about you all that much, but you know, I'm glad to have family and not be alone. So one night he gets drunk and gets kidnapped. And when he gets kidnapped, he wakes up, and that's when he's told that basically he is the child of his brother and his mom, and that they were not married, and it was a shame to the father. So the father had disinherited the older brother and had married the mom to make sure that the child wouldn't be a bastard and would be able to inherit the family's wealth and their spot as in the senator seat. But as long as the youngest child, the main character, is alive and able to have children, his children would stand to inherit that Senate seat. So they had to do something to keep him from being able to ever have children again. And they know he loves opera music. So they decide to cut off his testicles so that he can never reproduce, and that they're going to write a letter to everybody in the town that he's from, basically saying that he always wanted to be an opera singer. And no, the mom had a child with the brother and then married the grandfather afterwards. So yeah. But anyway, he ends up being sent to a church to sing opera, and it's a historical fiction. So at the time this takes place, we're talking about, I think, like the 1700s. And at the time, being a singer with no nutsack was an actual practice. They're called eunuchs, but people used to take young boys with beautiful voices, and if you wanted to be a star opera singer back at a time when women weren't really allowed to be on the stage like that, then they would dress these young boys up in dresses, and in an effort to keep their voices high, would cut off their testicles, hoping to stop puberty, and then have them go into opera. So that's what happens to this young man, is that he ends up getting into the seedy underbelly of the Italian opera scene at that time. There's a lot of homosexual themes, there's a lot of bisexuality, polyamory, a lot of trauma as listed, but it's a really well written book, and it has a really good revenge plot to it that I highly enjoyed. And I don't know, there's something about that book, about somebody losing every fucking thing they've ever known, yet and still making the best out of it, but not forgetting to get revenge. That speaks to my entire personality. So I highly recommend it. It's called Cry to Heaven, and it is by Anne Rice, God rest her soul. And yeah, those are two of my favorite books to read. I love those books with a passion. They're two of the only books I've ever reread. So yeah, Cry to Heaven and Let the Right One In. Both of those are really great books. Yeah, excellent books. So anyway, I'm gonna go because I've been talking to you guys for an hour, and I don't know if you've noticed, I've been rubbing the shit out of my nose has turned red while we've been talking because I'm so allergy. Ugh, yuck. Anne Rice has a lot of great books, by the way. If you are interested in just reading a great author, but you're not interested in vampires, don't discount Anne Rice, because Anne Rice writes a lot of different things. She has a witches series. She has vampire work. She also has a book called The Feast of All Saints, which is about the different color classes in early New Orleans. For those of you who aren't aware, back in the old days, Black people used to be classified by their color. and your color would be based on your parentage. So if you had a white father and a black mother, then you would be a mulatto. If you had a biracial parent and then a full white parent, you would be a quadroon, so on and so forth, octoroon even. And so the story is about how those different levels of racial mixture would allow you to travel between different classes of access in early New Orleans, but also how your gender played a big part in how much access you got too, because if you were a woman and you were light enough, you could actually get out of your class and live your life as a white woman. But if you were a multiracial man, even if you could kind of enjoy a certain level of freedom, society will never let you forget that you're black. And I do agree with what you're saying about the fact that, Hans, about not wanting to read a book like that from a white woman's perspective. And there are a lot of other historical books about class in the olden times in terms of like mulattoes, quadroons, octoroons, and the kind of access they had in New Orleans. So Anne Rice is not the be all and end all. It's just an entertaining read. That's what I'm saying about that. I'm not saying that she is the authority on that movement, but as a long-term New Orleans resident, I'm fairly certain that she had a lot of intersection with that, because there's always two sides to every coin. There is the black person trying to navigate their access based on their racial heritage, and then there are the white people who then determine which black people they'll let into the fold. And I'm absolutely certain that at least on the white person side of things, Anne Rice probably had a lot of intersection with that, and therefore, you know, she does have some perspective, even if it's not a full perspective. I'll put it that way. But yeah, this was fun. Glad I got a chance to talk to you. I don't plan on doing very many lives, so I hope this was great for you all. And I appreciate being here with you. I know I say it all the time, and I know it can seem disingenuous when you say it too much, but I really do care for a lot of you. Some of you can kiss my ass. You know who you are. You never comment, and when you do, it's always say something nasty, so it is what it is. But for the rest of you, I've cultivated a lot of friendships over the years from this channel. There's a lot of people on this channel that I've really, really enjoyed speaking with, and I'm always glad to see you guys again. My personal life has been kind of weird lately. I'm taking a month off work, so trying to navigate all of that. But at the same time, I've never forgotten that I have a home here with you all, and it is always a pleasure and an honor to be able to share these times with each other. So thank you. Please, please take care of yourself. It's wild as shit out here. I really and truly hope with all of my being, if you are a person watching me and you live in the United States, I really and truly hope that gun violence does not catch up with you, because every day I feel the specter of gun violence creeping closer and closer to my family. Kind of like how COVID used to linger in the air and you were like, oh man, I hope I don't get COVID, I hope I don't get COVID. As an American, it's feeling more and more like I hope nobody in my family is hurt by a gun. So please, please, please take care of yourselves, be safe, and be a little bit kinder than you were yesterday.